quarter. There's an empty backfield looking to throw. Wiley swings it out over to the far side. Lots of room. 10-5, touchdown. Coming up. There's the snap. Another handoff underneath. And the first one there behind the line of scrimmage is number 50, Dyson Garcia. Sideline. That's actually the snap to Micheletti. Micheletti takes off. He may have his second touchdown of the night, and he does. Colt Micheletti from 28 yards. Highly three-receiver set. There's Rolando in motion. He gets the pick, and he hits the hole hard. He's into the red zone. He's carrying tacklers. He's Superman into the end zone. Rolando Martinez on the second. And good evening, Abernathy, Texas, and good evening, fans of the Abernathy Antelopes and Lady Lopes. Welcome back. It is season 2 of Outside the Box, voice of the Antelopes. Ty Horsford alongside that other guy, Chance Rocha. And we are glad to be back with you for the premiere of season 2 of Outside the Box. Again, this is our kind of Wednesday weekly video podcast that we take a look at all things Abernathy Athletics, Abernathy ISD. Obviously, the name Outside the Box kind of comes from, we're sports guys. Chance and I like to talk sports. We're going to do that a lot
just a little bit.
On the podcast, but we also take a look at some things outside of the sports world and some exciting things going on around our community and around our school district. And we've got a lot to get into on this first episode of season 2. Glad to have you with us. We'll be here each and every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. And we have a few surprises to we'll get into later in the show of things to look forward to here on Outside the Box. But Chance, it's good to be back with you and ready to dive back into a new school year and athletic football season.
I'm excited, Ty. It feels like, we've seen each other. We've had these conversations, the similar ones we have here, but it's exciting to be back on the show. Number one, that means football season's about to start. Everything's kind of back in full swing. Kids started school. Just everything that comes with all the fall things that are happening. It's just exciting time of the year, Ty. We talk about spring getting busy, but then fall gets here and you realize, man, it's just as busy as spring is too. So
yeah, I'm not quite sure where the summer went. I was joking with someone the other day that you're supposed to have some downtime in the summer. I think my family missed that. But nonetheless, we are back in the swing of things and ready to go. And we wanted to just catch you up a little bit as we jump into our first segment of the show tonight. And we're going to run through this pretty quick because to a lot of you, it's probably old news. But since we've last been with you, the way the school year finished up with the spring semester last year and then into the early part of the summer, we had some student athletes doing some really nice things on the softball diamond as well as the track as well.
As well, yeah, for sure. So, like you said, kind of run through them pretty quick, but we always got to make sure and remember the junior high kiddos successful season. You know what? One thing I noticed about this, Ty, is it shows that our track program isn't just focused on the high school. They focus on that junior high program as well. So you had the 7th grade girls. They finished 3rd place in district. The 7th grade boys, they finished 2nd place in district. And then a strong showing from both the 8th grade girls and boys. They both ended up district champs to finish off their track career there in junior high. So a lot of those 8th graders are going to be moving up. And you may see someone on that varsity track squad coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the high school side, lots of success at the district track meet. 23 area qualifiers, Chance, for the Antelopes and Lady Lopes.
Yeah, you had 23 area qualifiers. You had Brianna Shortner. She ran the 100-meter. Keely Abel, Natalie Maldonado, Amy Easterwood, Alexis Pershears, Amaya Delgado, McKaylin Marshall, Ireland Mullins, Briar Cook, Aubrey Till, Lacey Blasquez, and Molly Shipley. And so competed in multiple different events. And I thought the cool thing, Ty, was you had 23 area qualifiers. And that was just the girls' side that I just read. And then the boys' side, you had Aaron Russum, Case Heinrich, Noah Rigler, Caleb Brown, Xavier Camacho, as well as Jake Harkey and Ben Solis. And so 23 qualifiers. Out of those 23 that qualified for area, 22 moved on to regionals. I believe the only one was Molly Shipley. So she came up 5th in the high jump, so she didn't qualify for regionals, but the other 22 did. And out of those, Ty, we had 2 that medaled. You had Lacey Blasquez coming in 3rd in the discus. I think she went to the track meet as a possible alternate to the state track meet. And then you had Aubrey Till, who placed 2nd in the regional high jump. And then what'd she do at state, Ty?
She did the exact same thing. And I tell you what, out of all the sports, Chance, medaling at the state track meet might be the most impressive.
Yep.
As Aubrey, she brought home a 2nd place silver medal in the high jump. And so congratulations to Aubrey. She finished up her athletic career. I remember her joking that she has a long lineage of athletic success in her family. And she was the only one in her family that had not gotten a state medal yet. And she finishes out her senior year with the state medal at the state track meet. So congratulations to her. Chances, you talk about baseball and softball. It was kind of a rough season for the baseball boys, unfortunately. They finished 5-14 overall, 4-6 in district play. They missed the playoffs. It's kind of a season of growing pains. You had some unfortunate happenings with your coach, who unfortunately kind of had to leave mid-season. You had Coach Cash Fortune step in and kind of finish as the head man for those boys, and they did what they could, but it was just kind of a season of growing pains.
It was a season, and there were spurts, in there of some success. They played some tough games against some really tough competition. They played a really tough game against a really, really good New Deal team who went deep into the playoffs, got beat out by New Home. And they played them really, really close, but the depth that they didn't have on the pitching staff, and then just a very young team. So hopefully, we'll kind of get to it later on, but you mentioned, losing your coach midseason is tough. And so hopefully this next spring we'll see a bounce back from those antelopes on the baseball diamond.
And softball girls, they had a nice little run in softball season that went into the early part of the summer. 15-11 overall. They finished 8-2, which was good for 2nd place in district behind Hill Center. And they lost a pair of really close games to Hill Center. That was a tightly contested top of the district.
It was.
But they do advance. They get back into the postseason. And they did lose in 2 games to the Bold Gold Lady Antelopes of Post. But they put up quite a fight in both of those games. And Chance, game 2 it had a little bit of controversy, if you will.
Yeah, it did. It had a little controversy, and I wasn't there at the game, and you heard all kinds of different stories, but I guess what had happened kind of happened. There were some instances where we had a girl score. Some girls ran on the field that weren't eligible for post, and kind of a big deal. But at the end of the day, Post had already won the first game. You would have had to barely tie the game with the run that got counted out, and then you would have still had to have won another game. But still kind of a crazy situation how it ended up. But excited for those softball girls. They have a really, really strong freshman class last year. They're all going to be sophomores. They're going to have some freshmen coming up. So another young team. So again, I would expect those girls to make some noise again this coming spring out there for those softball team and Coach Beth.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so that was quick. That was a mouthful, but we wanted to be sure and give those student athletes a shout out how they ended the school year last year. Dive into some current happenings, if you will, across the district a week into school. Before we do that, I want to thank, and I'm going to run through these pretty quick, super thankful for all of our sponsors that make not only outside the box possible, but our broadcasts on Friday night and then Tuesday and Fridays during basketball season. And we added quite a few new sponsors to the list here in 2025. Super thankful.
Much appreciated, for sure.
Absolutely. MC Master Roofing and Construction, along with the brand new Code 3 Soda Shop and Meat Market. Those are title sponsors on our broadcasts here in 2025. Also, South Plains Auto Ranch, Clark Riley Insurance, Able Funeral Home and Flower Shop, First Baptist Church, JC's Refrigeration, Stormguard, Plains Land Bank, Nutrient Ag Solutions, the Junkin Farmers Market, MZJ Variety Shop in Shallowater, Rooted Revival Hair Salon, Chance Rocha with Edward Jones, Code 3, we mentioned those guys, Lasso Electric, Web Vision Center, Hillvet, WTX Diesel, West Texas Brick and Stone, Rural Roots Medical Clinic, opened here in Abernathy, Farmers Cooperative Compress, First State Bank, DB Media, and Ty Horsford Realtor. That's a mouthful, Chance, but lots of great businesses getting behind not only what we do, but I think more importantly than that, showing support for our school district and all the things going on here at Abernathy ISD.
It just speaks to the community we have, Ty, just for them to not only, like you said, support us and us be able to do this show and every Tuesday and Thursday during basketball, or Tuesday and Friday during basketball season, and then, Friday night lights on the football field. But to me, it just makes us see, like, we always talk about it. There's not another community like Abernathy out there, and there probably is, but they're probably few and far between. So just the support.
I don't think there is.
Just the support that we have for sure, and the people that rally around us and want to watch us talk about all things Abernathy, but also the tune in to watch the Lopes and Lady Lopes.
Yep, absolutely. And so, without further ado, let's dive into some first week of school events and some different things going on. Chance, the volleyball season is in full swing. It was in full swing before school even got started.
Some scrimmages and everything.
They start before everybody. Again, a young group, not a true senior class yet for the newly established volleyball program. But Chance, I will say this. JV and varsity, they've had about 30 girls come out for the teams this season, and even early on in the season, already showing more of a competitive edge than maybe what they did last season. They were just kind of behind the eight ball last season, super young, super inexperienced, going against some pretty good talent. And they're off to a 2-4 start, but honestly, Chance, I think that may be more games than they won all of last season already. And they've had some close ones as well. They lost their season opener in a competitive 3-set match to KPA, Kingdom Prep. And then they went 2-2 in the Shallowater tournament over the weekend.
Yeah, they went 2-2. They dropped matches to Friona and Sanford Fritch, and they beat Wellman and Estacada. And so you kind of mentioned it. Very young squad, Ty. No seniors. They got that varsity class has 5 juniors, 5 sophomores, and they did bring up 1 freshman. So very, very young group. So the benefit to that, Ty, is you may have a growing season just like you did last year. I think you're going to be much more competitive because, the more time on the court, the more comfortable you get, the more comfortable they're getting with each other. And so I think that they're going to be a lot, bigger force to be reckoned with in district. Not saying they may contend for a district title or anything, but Coach Cat and Coach Thompson, she's going to have those girls ready and be ready to compete for sure. So
yeah, and we are actually going to talk more about the volleyball program coming up on our episode next week as we kind of do more of an in-depth preview of our volleyball program, and we'll talk to at least Coach Thompson, maybe even Coach King, as we preview the volleyball season next week on the broadcast. What's coming up for them, JV? They're going to be in the Olton tournament starting tomorrow. That will go through the weekend. And then junior high volleyball, they open up their season next week on Monday, the 25th, as they will be on the road at Plains. And then the JV and varsity volleyball team is back on the home court Tuesday as they will play the homeschool 323 Warriors starting at 5 o'clock. And I looked at that on the schedule and I was like, 323 Warriors. I was real confused, but then it's on there twice. I'm like, surely it's not a typo. Yeah. And nonetheless, playing the homeschool group out of Lubbock. And then a Chance cross country, they're often running, no pun intended, as well.
As Coach Carlisle said, what's their motto? The faster you run, the faster you're done.
There you go. There you go.
So I know she's had those girls ready. They've been running since, midsummer. They're doing some summer workouts, and then they do a 2-a-day similar to the volleyball and similar to the football. And so Coach Carlisle and Coach Rose Hunter out there having those girls, my daughter being a freshman this year, those mornings come early, having to drop them off and having them run. And they had their first journey to May Simmons this past Monday where they went and ran over there. And so they're getting them ready, and they're going to actually be in the Rust Buster. It's that kind of annual knock the rust off at LCU over the weekend. And so that'll both be junior high and high school that will compete this Saturday at LCU.
as we get into some around AISD topics, Chance, where we cover a few things not sports related. Obviously, several things going on with the start of a new school year. I guess as of today, we're a week in to the new school year. Speaking of, I saw where a couple of schools, New Home and maybe one or two others, they didn't start school until today. So Abernathy, hey, we got a week. We're seasoned veterans
there we go.
By now. But couple and this has kind of been a big topic of discussion,
in Texas,
not just in Abernathy, because this is kind of something the schools really didn't have much of a say in. It came down from the state, but a new cell phone policy on campuses.
Yeah, cell phone policy on the campuses, and it was a big topic across all districts in Texas. And, some opted to do the pouches and all the different things. And I think our staff and our administration have done a very good job of just making sure and communicating it not only to the parents but to the students and setting that expectation and just letting them know, like, we don't want to go to those those circumstances, but it's not going to be a problem until it becomes a problem. And our weekend haven't had any issues. I don't think the kids are super big fans, but.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the premise behind
correct
the policy. Obviously, you're at school to learn. You're at school to engage face to face.
Yep.
Obviously, technology is a big part of our world today, like it or not, and that's a whole nother conversation. For maybe we'll do an entire
segment
on technology and all the things that go along with that.
For sure.
But when you're in the classroom, obviously, I get there may be times, and you hope there's never times of emergency where you need them. Cell phones, at least at Abernathy, can be in bags, but they have to be put away, turned off.
Yep.
And the only time they'll be used is in case of emergency. I can get behind that.
Yeah. And I think that's, my big, like I said, the staff and the administration did a good job of making that call, making it aware, like, hey, they can have them. They just can't be on them, can't have them out, can't have them present during school hours. And so, like I said, kids probably aren't fans of it. You have a split party on parents. Some of them want them for the emergency. Some of them are like, yeah, let's do it. It needs to be that way. And then you probably have some that it could make no difference. They don't care. Don't even care. But I think it's one of those things that it was probably coming one way or another. And so I guess the state of Texas just kind of said, hey, we're going to lay the law down and not leave it up to the schools. We'll just make a mandate and go from there. So.
Yep, absolutely. And so that's kind of been a hot topic. And then, Chance, I know you and I are big proponents of
spiritual faith and
in schools and things like that. One step in that direction, again, no disrespect meant to anybody, but again, something that came down from the state. This was not a Abernathy school district thing, but the 10 Commandments have to be posted in each classroom throughout the district, and it's not just like a little small poster in the corner as well, a pretty visible poster of the 10 Commandments in each classroom. And so I know there may be some whatever people disagree with that, but personally, I'm a fan. Personally, I like it. That aligns with how I believe. But again, I know not everyone believes that way. But again, in my mind, it's a good step and a good policy handed down from the state.
For sure. And I think for anything, it's a conversation starter. It just has that put out there on the wall, and it may pose some questions, and some kids may have some questions about things. And I think too, it could also be a reminder, not only to students, but also teachers of, what are we doing here? What are we here for? We're here for the betterment to grow up these young kids and to raise them the right way. So
yeah, 100%. Moving right along, Chance, a lot to get to.
I'm telling you.
Even though we're just a week into the year, lots of new faces around the school district. Lots of, and it's exciting. It's some really exciting new faces around the program.
Some of them unexpected, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. As the first one, maybe
was not expected.
But it kind of, I don't know. It's again a conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
But a late departure by your girls basketball coach late into the summer months kind of left a vacancy. And I think Abernathy was really fortunate to get a good, successful standing head coach, certified teacher, all the things in Adam Zapata. He was the head girls basketball coach at Floydada. Also spent some time coaching on the boys' side at Floydada as well. He had been at Floydada for 8 years, a native of Floydada. And so kudos to Coach Wiley and others that had a hand in getting Coach Adam Zapata on campus. Really excited. Have heard good things. He's a super nice guy. Can't wait to see what he does with some pretty good talent coming back on the girls basketball team. Got a new high school baseball coach as well. We mentioned Coach Carrasco leaving midseason last year. Yes. And got high school baseball coach Chris Bird, him and his family making their way. Chance, he was the head baseball coach at Dalhart. And if I'm not mistaken, I think last year he led Dalhart to maybe their most successful baseball season in school history. They got into the postseason. They competed for a district championship. Yeah.
Like you said, a lot of big changes, but those two right there are two that, for us being sports guys that you're excited about. Whenever you're having to replace a coach, whether, it's the instance of with Carrasco leaving midseason or, you have a late departure of a coach, to be able to get two guys not only that have been successful in their craft, in their positions, but also, we got to go to the new teacher orientation, kind of give a tour of the town that was super fun. But just to hear each one of them talk about what it meant coming to Abernathy and kind of why it kind of had it earmarked. And you mentioned Adam, he's from Floydada, being a native there, but he mentioned, when you have a chance to come to be at a school like Abernathy, what that means and to be able to coach here and the difference and what you see and things like that. And then, Coach Bird, he said something pretty funny. He said, guys, I'm going to tell you right now. He said, you're going to have to either run me off, he said, because I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. And just because he felt that drawn to the program.
And he's an interesting guy. He's a guy that he is actually a coach, teacher later in his career.
Second career.
He had a full career that he retired from in law enforcement, kind of canine law enforcement. And so an interesting story. Excited to see what he does with the baseball program.
And this next one, Todd, the high school counselor, I'm not sure. Are you familiar with her?
Maybe a tad.
Another one coming home, Bridget Horsford, a native of Abernathy.
Is my sister-in-law.
Yep. A native of Abernathy. And I know, she was a position, correct me if I'm wrong, she was in middle school in Lubbock.
Correct.
So she's coming into the high school. So a little bit of a change for her, but I think it was kind of a coming home as well. And her having, that special place for Abernathy in her heart. So I'm sure she's excited to be here. And again, we're going to catch up with all these new staff members. So as well, joining Bridget is, how do you say his last name? Cody?
Coyle.
That's what I thought. Cody Coyle, the new assistant principal in the high school. And so those are just a few to highlight. And we had a ton more classroom teachers and school staff that we've hired. And then there was one other departure, Ty. I can't remember that we had to kind of replace.
You're catching me off guard. I don't know.
I think.
Forgive us.
There was one more, and he was really good.
I was like, "What are you doing to me, Chance?" Here, I wasn't catching what you were pitching.
Oh man, there you
go. We had a big one.
We did. One that we liked him. Really great guy. Our superintendent, Mr. Waldrop. Shout out. Cooper got a good one, and that's why they came after you and recruited you away. And so we're going to miss you and your family. But in saying all those things, it was a short turnaround. I think they've said it was kind of a home run hire, a really good hire, and Mr. Glenn Hill, Ty.
Yeah, as Glenn Hill, your new Abernathy ISD student superintendent, he literally moved here one day, and new staff orientation was the next day that he was a part of, and so a very quick turnaround for him. But I think what you get, and we interviewed him. We had a good lengthy conversation with him this week. We're gonna share that with you. But what you get is not only a good superintendent, you get a really good family.
Oh, great!
And a small town guy, small town family. Him and his wife Kelsey, they have roots to communities like Jayton and Aspermont. Most recently, Glenn was the superintendent of Paint Creek ISD. He did really good things at Paint Creek as their superintendent, and really he just brings a lot of passion, a lot of energy to the table, and some good experience that Abernathy really needed.
Yeah, some good experience that we really needed, and I think the thing that I enjoyed about him is, like you said, just the family aspect. they even mentioned they weren't searching.
Yeah, they weren't looking for a job.
It was kind of a God thing, and it all kind of landed in place the way it was supposed to. And, great family, two great kids. His wife is great. And so can't say enough good things about him. But I think that the consensus is in that I think we got a good one for sure.
Absolutely. And so we'll talk a little bit more about this hire, but let's let you kind of check out the interview that we did just a couple of days ago with Mr. Glenn Hill, the new Abernathy ISD superintendent. Well, once again, good afternoon. We are here with new Abernathy ISD Superintendent Glenn Hill. And Mr. Hill, thanks for joining us and spending a few minutes with us here on Outside the Box. And obviously, you're getting to know the community is getting to know you. So just first off, tell us a little bit about who is Glenn Hill outside of being superintendent of Abernathy, your family, hobbies. Who are you outside of work?
Sure. So I am father of two. We have Witten, who's a third grader in the district, and then Channing, who just started daycare. And then my wife, Kelsey, is a speech pathologist. So we've got a young family. And pretty much with a young family, your hobbies are riding the golf cart at the end of the day and swimming and all this stuff. So, yeah, I enjoy playing golf, but I don't get to play golf very often. So if I had an outside of the family hobby, that's what I would say it was. But
what's your golf score?
Having fun.
There you go. There you go.
Golf score. I'm not a golfer, but I do like to play golf. So
there you
two
go.
Total different things.
As far as pursuing the job here in Abernathy, what made this opportunity appealing for you and your family?
And I'll be honest, it was 100% a God thing because we weren't really looking for a job or for a different place. We really loved where we were, but God kept pursuing that opportunity, I guess you could say. And so had a lot of phone calls when the job came open, and some people just said, hey, come look. And actually kind of a neat story. My daughter Channing, she loves to watch Miss Rachel and she loves to sing. And we kind of went on a impromptu tour of the school with Mr. Albright way before the job even opened up. And as we're getting Channing out of the car, she starts singing the song, I'm about to do something new. And Kelsey and I just kind of looked at each other and got the chills. And really from then on out, it was just like everything was pointing this direction. So it was definitely just a God nudge that got us interested. And then once we started looking, it was just something that we couldn't turn down.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Obviously, moving to a new town, starting new jobs, all the things, lots of changes with you and with your family. But if you look at goals for maybe your first year as superintendent here at Abernathy, what are some of those goals? What does that look like for you?
Sure. Really, the first part of my job is just getting to know the school, getting to know the people, and seeing what makes Abernathy tick. Because there's a lot of good things going on, and so that's my goal number one is just to figure out what's been working and what do the people feel like maybe we could do to get a little bit better, because we all have some growth in us. But I mean, wholeheartedly, it's getting to know everybody, because this job is so much revolving around relationships, and whether that's with the board, whether that's with the staff, whether that's with the community or the kids. And so there's a lot of energy spent on that side of the job, because without that, nothing else is going to be successful. And so that's, I mean, 100% what a lot of my efforts are right now. I've started meeting with teachers and staff in general, gave them the opportunity to sit down with me for 30 minutes in their space.
I love that. And
I think I'm at like 45 right now. So that's been a good, and they've all been great. It's not like it's been a crap session. There's been a lot of great stuff. And so, giving them that opportunity has been good, both for them and for me. I think it's given them a little bit of ease, knowing that I'm not just coming in to change a bunch of stuff, because I'm truly just want to get to know them, what they do, and what makes the district tick.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn, I know you're a big vision guy. When you think of a little bit longer term, what would you say your vision is for the school district here in Abernathy?
And it's kind of corny, but
for
me, I feel like as a leader that I don't get to have a vision. My job is to figure out what the board and then what the staff and the community and the kids, for that matter, where they want the district to go. And so my job wholeheartedly this first year is figuring out what goals do we want to accomplish? Where do we want to set our sights? And so once that's identified, then honestly, that becomes my vision, because I feel like as a leader, if you just come into a place and you say, this is where I foresee us going, I don't get that opportunity. I just get to find out what people want, and then that's the direction we go. Then we figure out what steps do we need to go to make that happen. Where do we need to improve? Where do we need to keep what we're doing? but truly just finding out what the goals are. And that's part of my questions that I ask the staff. Are the second one is just, where do you feel like we can get better? And there's been some great conversations with that. And in fact, the first 4 or 5 kind of said that specifically. They were like, we would like to have black and white goals that the district's moving towards. And I'm like, well, that's kind of ironic because it's kind of the whole purpose of what we're doing here. So I think the people want that too. Not necessarily specific SMART goals of like, we're going to improve 3rd grade reading by 5% in a year, but more visionary goals of what kind of students we're wanting to produce, what are we wanting to add to the town, those sorts of things.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we're about a week or so into the new school year. What are some things that you've seen or that have happened so far that you're kind of proud of as the leader of the district?
Sure. The school pride here is top notch. And of course, school pride comes with Friday night lights and scrimmages and sporting events. But that's, I feel like, kind of a given with a lot of districts. But what's been given me the most pride is in my meetings with teachers and then visiting with the principals is how well everybody works together. I mean, when you have conversations, it's not us elementary teachers or us middle school teachers. It's we as antelopes. And so that's something that's very impressive because that's not common to be, especially for as large of a school district as we are, for everybody to be on the same page. And I mean, it's nothing for Joanna to stop what she's doing to help Ollie out at the middle school or Tate to the elementary. I mean, it's just like, what do we need to do to get better? And how can we help out in that? And I think it was the elementary teachers. Actually, I know it was the elementary teachers. Several of them said kind of our motto at the elementary is see a need, feel a need. And I feel like that's how everybody operates at Abernathy is if they need help serving food, we serve food. If a kid needs his shoe tied, I mean, there's no job too small for us. And I think that's what makes Abernathy what it is. And that's been the most impressive to me is not just the pride in our athletics, but the pride in growing every single kid, no matter their age.
Yeah. Obviously, I know you and your wife both are small town people. You grew up in a small town. You know the importance of community in a small town. What excites you the most about maybe getting you and your family kind of plugged into the community here in Abernathy?
Sure. For that question, I fall back on my kids. It's having so many people willing to invest in my kids personally. And I think that's, I mean, one of the major things that drew us to Abernathy is driving up down the street, seeing bicycles in the yard, and just knowing that if Whit needs his butt busted, somebody will bust his butt, you know. And
absolutely.
That's what he needs. And he may not need it, but Channing will need a lot of those. And so we're just preparing the community now.
Your little fireball.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, just that, I mean, we're all here in it together, and we're all raising kids the way we know how. And that's a lot of what drew us here. And that's what I'm excited for our kids to grow up with, is just being a part of something. Because we haven't had that, but we want that for our kids.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Obviously, not in a negative sense, but when you think of challenges starting the new role here in Abernathy, what would you say maybe your biggest challenges or one of your biggest challenges?
One of my mentors a long time ago told me that too many times I try to do things for people, and that could come across as micromanaging, and that's the opposite of who I am as a leader. But especially coming from a superintendent of a super small district, I mean, I was the business manager, I was the technology director, and I mean, that was just part of it. And so one of the biggest challenges I've had so far, or one of the things I've had to be the most intentional about, is not just doing something because I've always done it, but it's asking questions of who had that role. And Toby did a good job of letting me know that early, because at Paint Creek, like, the board agenda and all of that came through me. And so with the conversation with her, she was like, I do that for you. And I was like, hallelujah. I mean, that's awesome. But it was a friendly reminder of, like, there's people here that are willing to help and are rock stars at what they do. And so for me, that's been a challenge of not, because I quickly, like, if I see a problem, I'm like, oh, I can knock that out for somebody so that they don't have to worry about it. But what I was told a long time ago is, when you do that, when you hop in and just knock it out for somebody, you're taking away somebody else's opportunity to learn and grow. And so I try to be more intentional of that. And so just asking questions, I think, is it, because, like I said, too many times I just want to jump in and knock it out for somebody, and that's not necessarily the best thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, obviously, briefly today, we've covered several different things, but is there anything that you would just like to share with people that are watching this, or just kind of the community in general, that we haven't covered?
I would just say we're super excited to be here. For me as a leader, I'm here to find out what people want and deliver on how I know best to lead a district. And so looking forward to getting to know everybody. May take me a while to learn names, but I'll learn faces pretty quickly. So people just bear with me and give me that grace and we'll be okay. But there's kind of like what the elementary said, there's no job too small for me. And I love going out in the cafeteria and having my food handler's license and serving food in the cafeteria, because just seeing those smiling faces. And so that's just who I am as a leader. And I gave the teachers that heads up of like, hey, you're probably going to see me in your classrooms a lot. I'm not your evaluator, but sometimes I just need a reminder of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so I am a lot of places, and that's not as a having my finger on people. It's truly just to see the learning going on and maybe a reminder of why I got into education.
Yeah, I love that. Well, awesome. Glenn, we're glad you're here. I know a lot of people are glad you're here, and thanks for spending a little bit of time with us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Yep. And there you have it, the new Abernathy ISD Superintendent, Glenn Hill, his wife, Kelsey, children, Witten and Channing, some of the newest members of the Abernathy Community Chance. And you just get a small taste there of kind of who he is. Just a very down-to-earth, normal guy that is big on appreciating his staff, encouraging his staff, having their back. And one thing, Chance, I saw this on social media somewhere, and I don't even know who said it, but I saw a quote this week that I thought really summed up Mr. Hill really, really well. And it said, if service is below you, then leadership is above you.
Yeah.
Kind of that servant leadership mindset. I think that's what you get with our new superintendent.
Oh, 100%. He mentioned it in the interview, and he said, no job is too small. The same way no job is too big, no job is too small. And so just being able to be present and be there and, greeting the kids and just being approachable, just giving the staff the opportunity to meet with them. I think that's a big deal.
That's cool.
That way, whether they want to or they don't want to, but giving them an opportunity like, hey, you want to sit down 15, 30 minutes and just talk about what your vision is.
In their space, in their classroom, in their workout space, whatever the case may be.
Just to be able to kind of voice their opinion and what their goals are. And I think that was the biggest thing when, what were his goals and was his vision. And he said, it's not about him. It's about him working with the school, the staff, the district, the community, and what the goal and the vision is as a whole. Like what is this town, what does Abernathy want to be, and how can he help to be a big part of that and lead us in that direction? And I think that we're just lucky to have him, and I hope he's here for a long time. And I think that, him and his family are just going to mesh right in with everybody here. So
if you're watching, Glenn, we want you to stick around.
Yeah, stick around. Come be another guest on the show. Come on.
I did like how he answered the vision question. He's obviously a huge visionary, but I think when you have a new leader come in, you're worried about a new leader coming in and changing everything. Yeah. People felt like in a lot of ways things were going really, really well, and they were at Abernathy ISD. So when talking about vision, he said, it's not my job to come in here and do some crazy vision change, but it's more of like, what's the vision of the community? It's members, it's people that live here, the people that go to school here, the people that work here. What's their vision? And then that's our vision together.
For sure.
And I thought that spoke volumes.
Yeah. What's everything that's going right? Let's keep doing it. And where can we improve? And let's do that too. So
100%. So we're in great hands
for sure
at Abernathy ISD. Another quick shout out to Code 3 Soda Shop and Meat Market, along with MC Master Roofing and Construction, the title sponsors here for us in 2025 on the Abernathy Sports Network. And chances we head into our final segment, and it's probably going to always be our favorite segment. But let's talk a little football. We're going to preview the season, at least kind of a 180-foot look. We'll look at district previews and all of that later. But you're coming off of a season. The football team is a pretty successful campaign. You go 8-4. More importantly, 4-1. In district. You lost that heartbreaker to Post in the season finale. That gave Post the district championship. You end up the runner-up last year in district. You win a playoff game, which honestly, that's a step in the right direction.
It had been a couple years.
Yeah, it had been a couple years since we had done that. You beat West Texas handedly, and then you kind of had a disappointing loss, 38-19 to Cisco in the area around. Interesting thing, Cisco they were a 4 seed. They had upset a number 1 seed to even get to that game, and so kind of you were playing a Cinderella, and the Cinderella season continued for Cisco when they put it on the Antelopes. But still, you get to the area round of the playoffs.
You did, and that game, kind of like you said, kind of stumbled a little bit, but you did have some injuries in the game, and then prior to the game where your game plan kind of got mixed up, and then we had a really good senior class, but a big bulk of your group was young, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about going into this season as well. But it was a great season. It was a fun season. I'm excited to get back to the playoffs coming up.
And challenging non-district slate as well. I don't know if it's quite as challenging as maybe what it was a season ago.
On paper,
it'll still test you. It'll still get you ready for district play. You've got a couple of matchups with teams from the Panhandle that are ranked in the top 25.
Yep.
Number 13, Stratford. Number 24, Sunray. You go to Stratford. Sunray comes home. The first couple of weeks of the season, those will be difficult games for you. Littlefield, they're always a competitive, tough program.
We've had their number, though.
You've had their number.
But we're going to Littlefield.
And it's been a while. It's been a couple of years since we've done that. They've made a couple of back-to-back trips to Abernathy, and so they'll be seeking revenge. Freona, and then you're going to also play Farwell. We all remember that was probably the game of the year last year at Farwell, a 42-41 Antelope victory, and so Farwell's going to be hungry to return the favor. That was a lead that Farwell was up 2 scores late, and Abernathy rallied for the win.
Yep.
Well, really late in the last 60 seconds or so of that ball game chance. But then when you get into district, I think maybe your non-district on paper is a little less competitive. I'm not so sure that your in-district matchups aren't going to be a little more competitive or a little tougher than maybe what they even were a season ago.
Yeah, for sure. The non-district, Stratford, they're losing some guys, but they're Stratford. They're going to reload. Sunray is going to be completely different. I think they're returning like 2 guys on each side of the ball. And then, you have some new coaches in Farwell, but Freona may be a tough team. But I think when you look at the overall going into district and what that's going to look like, and of course you have almost 6 weeks before we get there. Things can happen, injuries can happen, teams can be expected to be something and not be something. But no matter how you slice the pie, Post is a top 10 ranked team. They're returning just about everybody at their skill position, a lot of their linemen, and the only thing they're really losing on the skill side is just the West Texas leading rusher and Ian Vergara. But they'll probably have another back that's going to come in there. So a lot of people are saying last year was kind of a year early for them, that this was the season they were expecting them to be good. And so that final district game, it's probably going to come down to the district title. But in saying all those things, you have New Deal. They're going to come back.
If they can stay healthy, they were injury bit last year.
Yep.
It was a uncharacteristic season for the Lions, so you expect them to try and be hungry to get back into the postseason.
Well, they do, and I'm glad that that's a game that we have at home. You're going to start going to New Home, and that's going to be a tough one. They're losing their quarterback, but I think the difference between New Home and New Deal is New Home is having to reload some positions. New Deal is they just got to stay healthy, and if they're healthy, the newspaper thinks they're going to beat us and finish second in the district. Dave Campbell's has us getting second district, Post getting first, and then those last 2 positions between New Home and Olton. But it's going to be a tough one, like you mentioned. Your preseason may not be as tough, but I think your district, they had it as a district of doom last year. They don't have it listed this year, but I think it may be just as tough as it was last year. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at strengths of this team, and you and I both saw the first scrimmage. If you talk to Coach Wiley, he's not shy about saying it either. He talked about it in his pigskin preview with Pete Christie. But the strength of this team is their speed.
Oh, yeah.
Their speed and their talent at the skill positions. You were really, really young at the skill positions a year ago. You're still young at the skill positions, but you are a year older. You've got some guys on the offensive side. You get your quarterback back. Jagger Wiley, who did a nice job for you a season ago. He's going to throw the ball a lot.
Yep.
I think you're going to see a little bit of a different look. You don't have a Superman in the backfield in the kind of runner that Rolando was.
Correct.
Put your head down and just
Hard
go
nose,
and carry tacklers. Not saying that we don't have capable backs, because we do.
We do.
Colt Micheletti, you saw him kind of come on at the end of last year before unfortunately having an injury there late in the season. He's going to carry the load at running back this year. And then you've got guys on really both sides of the ball, defensive back, but receivers as well. Darian Duval and Dre Minfield, who will factor into the equation big time on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned it. We're playing West Texas last year behind post. Ian Vergara, who was your unanimous, MVP for our district, and even for the newspaper and all those things. But Colt is a different type of back. He was a freshman last year. He's just going to be a sophomore. So he's going to come in fresh and be getting those reps the entire time. So that's going to help. But again, different type of game. The other thing that we talked about, the skill is what is going to be your benefit. And so you're going to have to lean on that a lot more with Colt and guys like Darian and Dre. You do have a couple guys up front that are coming back. A preseason Dave Campbell's defensive MVP, Jake Harkey. Look for him to make a big splash on the defensive side of the ball. And then you have Ryan Hillis on the O-line and at linebacker as well, and playing some up front on the line. So those two guys, you're probably going to hear their name. A guy you heard a lot last year on the defensive side was Malachi Walters. Look for him to step up a little bit, get a little bit more reps. And then we saw it in the scrimmage, and you made note of it. You actually made a comment wearing that number 13, playing defense. Jagger Wiley making some plays on the defensive side of the ball.
And that always scares you a little bit when your quarterback's out there flying to the ball and putting the hit on people, but you love to see the competitiveness as well.
You do. You love to see it, and you made note, like when it happened, you're like, is that a Bryson Daly-esque out there?
Yeah.
Because you typically don't have, you do in some instances, but a guy who's going to lead you at quarterback and then line up and kind of be a hard-nosed, linebacker as well. But we may see some of that. Don't know how much we're going to see of it because you do want to keep him healthy. But that's something that you may see. And then, Ty, some new faces. We talked about Coach Bird. He's bringing over his son, Caden Bird.
It's always nice when a coach has a good athlete.
And you don't know.
And that's not why you hire somebody. That's what I'm saying. But it's nice when you can add those kids to what you got going on.
And we didn't know. I just happened to go look and see, as a sophomore at Dalhart, which Dalhart's big school, 3A. So they're 2 divisions above Abernathy, and you're thinking, was he on varsity as a sophomore? And I looked, he was their second leading rusher. He had about almost just shy of 300 yards. He had 3 touchdowns on the ground. He was their 4th leading receiver with just shy of 300 yards as well and 4 touchdowns. So as a sophomore, he made a pretty big impact for a Dalhart team. Granted, they weren't just a powerhouse. They were in a tough district with Shallowater and Bushland, but he's played against some hard-nosed competition. So he's a guy that, we're not sure. We saw him make some plays in the scrimmage, but how they're going to place him in there. But he does give you some more speed. And also, Ty, he's just a junior.
Yeah.
So you're going to get him this season and next season.
Absolutely.
And then you got a guy like Braylon Stanford. He had to play down last year. He was a transfer. But him and Case Heinrich are 2 other names that you may hear some. Braylon, he's one of those ones he may play tight end. He play some running back, and then he's going to be a big part probably on the defensive side as well. Yep,
absolutely. And then Aiden Villarreal, he's a freshman. You may see him in some different packages, different sets in the backfield, a freshman running back. Speed is the name of his game.
Yeah,
absolutely. He can light up the field in a hurry. You saw that on the junior high field last year when he was in the 8th grade. But you've also got I feel like Villarreal will be a kid you're going to have to kind of stick with. As the season goes, he's going to get better. He's going to get more comfortable because obviously it's a big jump from playing 8th grade football to being under the Friday Night Lights.
It is a big jump, and I think just the atmosphere, the fans, the prep, a little bit of the pressure. I think he's a great kid, great head on the shoulders, works hard, very, very coachable. But it's just something to be said about, like you said, strapping it up on Friday. It's a big difference. But I think that how they're going to place him, how they're going to use him, it may be very Colt Micheletti-esque of last year, to where you put him in there and they're not expecting much, and then you give him a seam and he'll get you 20, 30, even 40 yards. I mean, he broke one pretty far in the scrimmage.
It got called back.
Yeah.
It was like an 80-yard run.
He did.
That's like the most demoralizing thing in the entire world.
But excited to see him out there. And there's a lot of other guys, and these are just some ones that we're highlighting, but just excited to see who kind of steps up this year. So,
and if there was a weakness chance, we kind of already hinted at it. It's going to be the lack of size and depth up front. Coach Wiley has said it. You've got to stay healthy.
You do.
You've got to stay healthy up front. There's just not a lot of numbers there. You only return 4 starters on offense, 5 on defense, 11 players total. So we're going to be getting to know a lot of new antelopes in 2025. Although they looked really, really good in their first scrimmage against River Road. River Road, a team that's supposed to be, by no means are they a powerhouse, but they're supposed to be a little bit better. And honestly, I was interested to see that they were big.
They were.
River Road had some size. They really struggled with Abernathy's speed.
They did.
I think if Abernathy struggles, it's going to be against teams that just line the ball up and
hard nose.
Just hard nose right at the line of scrimmage. That might be where you struggle if you struggle, but I think you can give some teams issues with your speed. You've got a scrimmage coming up against Clarendon this week before doing it for real next Friday night against those Stratford Elks. Make that a 3-hour plus road trip to the Texas Panhandle. And you're going to one of the traditional powers in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Stratford is good year in and year out. We'll preview them next week.
We will.
They lost some playmakers, but again, you said it earlier, they always lose playmakers, and then they just
reload.
Cornbread and chicken. Yeah. They line up and do it again.
You know, you have some of those towns, and Abernathy's been known to be
Canadians,
one of those ones.
one of
And
them.
you know, the old saying is they don't rebuild, they reload, and that's kind of Stratford. But that's the kind of team that it's good to set the bar. It's good to go on the road, play that long, drive that long bus ride. Yeah, win or lose. And I think that's what we looked at last year. You know, we knew going into last year you could start the season 0-2. But if you start 0-2, guess what? Those are the games you want to lose in the preseason. But also you're going to learn a lot. And grow a lot. And I think that's what I'm excited about, too, to see Jagger and Darian. Some of those sophomores that were on varsity last year, that their eyes were wide open. And now it's like, okay, we've been here before. Now let's kind of show you what we're about now. And so I'm excited to see that.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Chance, it's been fun. I've enjoyed this kind of getting back in the rhythm. I hope you are excited as well. A new school year. New football season, all the things, volleyball season. Just fall is in the air. I'm ready for it to cool off a little bit, and it should be a lot of fun as we head into the fall. And we mentioned it at the top, Chance. We've got some exciting things for you that we're still brewing them. If you don't know Chance and I, we have some crazy ideas. And sometimes they come to fruition, and sometimes they don't, because I think sometimes we forget how busy we really are with everything else, with regular jobs and regular kids and all the things. I don't know if our kids are regular or normal or not, but anyways,
that's what
but we've got some exciting things coming up. New segments. Maybe look at some player of the week stuff, maybe some junior reporter opportunities. One thing I'm really excited about, Chance, is 2 or 3 times this year we plan to be on location.
Live on location.
You'll have a chance to come check us out live and in person. No autographs, please. No, I'm totally
I'll
kidding.
sign as many as you need.
No, totally kidding. So that'll be fun. Maybe some giveaways. We'll always have special guests as well. It should be a fun time.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'm excited, Ty. Just kind of seeing where this thing takes us. And again, if no one was watching or no one was listening, we'd probably still do it. But we have fun. We want to bring some excitement, some fun to the community, get some more people involved, and just bring some recognition to some of our sponsors and do some fun things and see what people we can have come out.
Yep, absolutely. We'll be back at it next Wednesday, 8 o'clock again, live, 8 p.m. right here on this YouTube channel. We'll talk football. We'll talk volleyball. We'll have some interviews with some coaches and possibly players from those programs as well. And then we will kind of take an in-depth look at the season opener against the Stratford Elks.
Big game.
It is a big, big game, but it's It's been fun, Chance. I've enjoyed it, and we will wrap it up here for tonight. Again, tell your friends outside the box, Wednesdays
family,
at 8.
Outside the box, we're here. Be sure to watch.
And what is it we say? Good night.
God bless.
And go Lopes.